Wally. Yeah, I did hear that of Al right before I had to go and do a formal observation of a young teacher as part of our evaluation process, and I went into a grade 2 classroom, and they were doing a challenge, a project-based learning piece. That was the challenge was they could bring any found materials from home, um, or the teacher had a grab pile to build an insulator that would um, allow a freezy to stay cold, uh, like the freezy candy thing to stay cold for as long as it possibly could, and and it was a classroom where there was a lot of what most people would say was a lot of noise, but it was 100% engagement. It was unbelievable, and when I do an observation, I don't put the judgment into the observation until I actually have the conversation after the fact with the teacher. And a couple of things that I made, I just make note of what I'm seeing. And um, as the teacher was moving around the class, the question that the teacher was asking is, "What do you need?" To the children as they're building it, and then one of the students said to her that they noticed that the insulator that they were building had a hole in the bottom, and the teacher's reply to the child was, "Well, how are you going to fix it?" And that was the back to the Socratic method, and she just asked a question, and you you could see the eye contact, and then all of a sudden it went down. He was figuring out how he was going to fix it. He walked away to the next one, and it was really interesting. She would ask them things like, "If you see another good idea, can you use it, or is that cheating?" And some of the kids wanted to say cheating. She goes, "Well, it is it how could you make it sound so that it isn't cheating? You thank to say, hey, that's a great idea. I think I will use it too." And some of those types of things, and then asking the question, if something isn't working, can you change it? And then but one of the things that I thought was really interesting was right before she uh, turned them loose on building this project. She read a little excerpt from a storybook that they'd had used obviously before. And where is it here? It's oh, the only way to truly fail at this, and the kids could answer the part at the end of it, and was to quit. So it wasn't about it wasn't a they will all find out what level of success or failure that they have with the project, but it's all about the creativity and that piece. So it's kind of tied into what Al was talking about with the kids and their discovery, and how we sometimes forget that what these kids are capable of. And I know that I give the millennials a hard time. I like to give to take runs at them, or give them a few knocks from time to time. But this young teacher, she's amazing, and there's a lot of good young teachers out there right now that they understand what it really takes to help today's student learn.
That's that story, Jordan. It takes us right back to that CBC link I sent last week or 10 days ago about how we transform learning, and like the number one job of coaches and teachers and everybody is to stimulate curiosity versus, again, like we all agree, is versus telling them, what to do and how to solve problems.
and you use the word Socratic method, and right from now till, Tim said the transformational learning and stimulating curiosity. This is definitely worth sharing. Jordan, I'm curious. These young teachers coming in, are they being taught to teach this way? Is this now part of coach education and teacher education?
I
That's a great question, Wally. And how many teachers do you have like that, Jordan? I'd be interested to know.
well, right now, and I don't want to just say it's today's teachers because I go back to when I became an administrator, and one of the first things you were able to do was to get into other classrooms, and you could see some of these master teachers even 20 years ago, and there have always been master teachers that have understood that to truly have students want to learn is your goal, and it's to get them, like you said, Tim, to spark their curiosity, because if a student is curious, they'll learn in spite of you, and so it's one of those pieces. But yeah, I do believe that the project-based learning has come a long ways, over the last 10-15 years, and that they are focusing in on more of those styles of methods. Um, uh, at universities. Universities sometimes are a little bit of laggards, though, too, to what's actually happening in practice to what they're teaching. Um, but the other piece with it is that I think that they're understanding that in learning, lots of times, like I'm going to read that article about disruptive tech, that they understand that technology is one of those pieces that sometimes you're competing against, but it's also something that you can use. And these kids, the project they're doing today, it was low tech. Like they were using tin foil and leftover Amazon packaging and all sorts of things. But it was really cool to see where their minds were going, and um, and I think some parents were just happy to have some of that junk leave their house. but it was interesting to see what the kids were thinking, and some were looking around to see what their other buddies were doing, and some were just so laser focused on what they were doing. And I think that it's also going back though to the mindset piece and trying to inspire that growth mindset, and that it's about the process and not seeking perfection, but to seek to always be getting better, and that piece I think is so key.
What subject, Jordan? Would she's teaching what area subject?
Well, she's a grade two teacher, a generalist, but in this now with the project being project based, there was elements of it was a science outcome. Uh,
Okay.
she also had elements of language arts tied into it because the students had to diagram it, and then they were writing their description of why they felt the scientific method that they were choosing was going to work,
Yeah.
and that piece too. So and then the other piece that will be going along with it is that a way of we talk about tying parents back into it is these kids will be doing a little video and tying it to their My Blueprint profile that their parents can then view, and part of that will be a reflective piece, and that importance of reflecting on what they've learned and what could they do next time. Um,
What other kinds of materials were they? I was just curious, Jordan. Like you mentioned, tinfoil and probably some bubble wrap from Amazon or whatever. What other kinds of stuff did they have?
oh, there were styrofoam cups, and there was cotton balls, and there were one kid had oven mitts. Uh, Obviously, figuring that oven mitts can protect your hands from getting too hot, they maybe would help keep it cold. One little girl, I did ask her. I said, "Does your mom or dad work in a medical clinic?" And she looked at me like, "How do you know?" And she said, "My mom." And I said, "Because the freezy packs that she had, the cooler packs that she had, are ones that my better half being a vet, that they use for transporting um, vaccines and medicine that need to be kept at a refrigerated temperature." So she'd even brought those in, and some had styrofoam chunks that came as packaging, that they were going to use that for insulation, and cardboard tubes and all sorts of stuff. And one of the more interesting ones that I saw that you know won't work, but it was interesting, that I would like to be able to ask that student why they were thinking it, was they actually um, filled their container with water, and then put the freezy in water, and then closed it up. But I think that that they were thinking about it in totally a different way, but it was something trying to figure out. Well, maybe they figured the cold water would help keep it colder longer, but well.
Boy, some of the words you've put down, I'm going to take time to put, the science, language arts, video, that's um, reflection, all those words, grade 2, that's going on and happening. It's not memorize something mundane for getting a test score. It's really priceless. And uh, I think teachers are, you mentioned, in the field, are ahead of the game, and university might be lagging a little bit, but the change is happening. This is a real good example of lifelong learning occurring before your eyes. It's the way they teach today, and I really want to thank you for that.